Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the program Business Time. My name is William Kumwembe. This is a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And in the program today, we look at revenue performance in the first quarter of the 2022-2023 financial year. And also in the program, chances slim that Malawi could realize its target revenue from tobacco this season. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Business Time. My name is William Kumwembe. In our main story in the program today, in the first 3 months of the 2022-2023 financial year, the Malawi Revenue Authority collected about 335.1 billion kwacha against a target of 355.64 billion kwacha. This is according to figures presented by the Commissioner General John Biswick. Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi caught up with Biswick and has filed this report.
According to figures released by MRA, the authority collected 355.1 billion kwacha between April and June 2022, representing a 98.85% performance against the target of 355.64 billion kwacha for the first quarter of this financial year. The performance was mainly affected by MRA's deficit in May, when it recorded revenue amounting to 104.7 billion kwacha against a target of 113.7 billion kwacha. This is what MRA Commissioner General John Biswick had to say on the performance.
I think when you look at the environment in which we are operating, I should think that it's a good performance, and I think a part needs to be given to the members of staff in MRA for having achieved that performance rate. First, it's obviously cooperation from the taxpayers, because without the taxpayers we can't collect that. So we are seeing more compliance from the taxpayers, and also dedication from members of staff within MRA, that we seem to be aligning ourselves to the values and also the mission of MRA. One of the challenges has been forex shortage, which has impacted on volumes of imports. That has been a challenge, and also continued non-compliance by some of the sectors, especially the retail and wholesale sector, especially for VAT. We have seen a lot of non-compliance in that sector. And also smuggling continues to be a problem which we have to deal with.
Biswick added that the authority aims to widen the tax net to enhance trade facilitation, increase tax compliance, standardize and automate processes and procedures to sustain its performance.
The performance is good. Would have wanted something better than that. I think what is delaying the better performance of block management system is the introduction of the presumptive tax, which is awaiting the gazetting of the regulations under the Tax Administration Act. Once we do that, we should be able to reach out to more of the small and medium taxpayers. But I would say that the block management system, as I said before, is a game changer, because we are looking at MRA now reaching out to the taxpayers. As I said, we are providing a service. We are the service provider, and the taxpayers are our customers. So we need to reach them, to reach to them, so that we are able to get what we want. So this is an opportunity for us to explore how much other ways of maybe reaching out with the taxpayers, so that we are able to get the best out of them.
In the current budget, domestic revenues are estimated at 1.636 trillion kwacha, of which tax revenues are estimated at 1.528 trillion kwacha, while other revenues have been estimated at 107.8 billion kwacha.
Now, authorities at the Malawi Stock Exchange predict a pickup in activity at the local bourse. This comes as the market registered both volume and value drop in the first 6 months of the year. According to Kalin Kanyangala, who is the Chief Operations Manager at the Malawi Stock Exchange, there is hope that companies will continue to perform better in the second half of the year?
The performance within the first half has really been good. If you look at the return on index, we registered a return of 9.32%, which is higher compared to what was registered within last year when we had a return of around 8.49%. In terms of transaction volumes, there was a decline. If you look at this year, we had volumes of around 278 million that were transacted on the market, compared to volumes of around 700 million that were actually transacted in the prior year. In terms of the value as well, there was also a decline. This year we had traded values of around 16 billion compared to 18 billion. So a drop of around 2 billion that was registered on the market. But overall, I think if you also look at the outlook in terms of the half-year results for 2022, they've been quite good. If you look at the trading statements that have so far been released, we see that most companies are projecting to register an increase in the profits compared to what they actually registered in the first half of 2021. Yeah, so when it comes to the return as well as the traded volumes, those are two different indicators on the market. If you look at the return, mostly it talks to the performance of the market itself in terms of the profitability and even the outlook that the investors have. But at the same time, if you look at the traded volumes, it also speaks to how much shares were actually transacted in that period. So there will not really be a correlation in those two aspects. But I think if you look at the decline in the traded volumes, it's quite significant. There have been quite a number of developments, as you know, within the macroeconomic environment. And normally, in that aspect, it is not really unusual for the investors to sort of take a sit back to assess the situation so that at least they're able to make a better informed decision in terms of the trading activity that they would actually want to implement as part of their trading strategy. So we've seen really a decline in terms of the traded volumes, but at the same time, I think you also understand that there's been an erosion in terms of the disposable income of the investing public, especially with inflation being on the rise. So all those factors have really played a role in terms of reducing the activity on the market. But when it comes to the return on the market in terms of the performance of the individual companies, I think that has generally been well. As I said, for the half-year results, you see that most companies have actually issued positive trading results compared to a few that are also projecting perhaps on the downside to have a decline in terms of the profitability. The outlook, it's quite uncertain at this point. As you know, we have quite a number of different companies that are operating within different sectors of the economy. Some are a bit resilient, some will be hit more than others, depending on what sector or industry they're actually operating it. But overall, I think currently it's quite unclear. As you know, most of the developments have really happened closer to the end of the half-year results. So maybe the half-year results that are being projected might not really include the full impact of some of the developments that might actually occur or play out during the rest of the year. So that will have to wait and see how the companies do perform in the second half of the year. But we do see that there are really quite significant downside risks, especially for the market in terms of the interest rates. Whenever we see that there's a rise in the interest rates, normally the portfolio managers or investors reallocate their funds or assets towards money market instruments because they'll get a return there. And sometimes that can actually cause a suppressed activity on the equity market. But at the same time, I think depending on the sector as well, maybe that might also play out well in terms of performance of the other companies. So I think for a full picture, we'll have to wait up until we see the trading statements for the year ended of 2022. In terms of activities, as the stock exchange, we're still trying to pursue companies to come to the market to list. I think we're trying to encourage companies as well as mostly corporates and even the parastatals. I think if you look at the current macroeconomic environment, the financing structure of a company really plays a significant role in terms of how that company can survive. So let's say if you're highly leveraged or you're relying so much on debt, maybe that might not be a good strategy at the current scenario, especially if maybe there's the prospects of interest rates rising, or maybe you might not be be able to access the funds as you would. So if you have a more balanced capital structure, let's say you have a bit of equity as well, that can actually help in terms of sustainability as well as resilience. But at the same time, even when it comes to loan, you find that most companies rely on short-term credit facilities, which might not be ideal in terms of expansion and growth of a company. And even the quantum that you would be able to access is not really that much that compared to what you'd actually get in the capital markets. So we're really trying to push forward the message to say that there is an opportunity within the capital markets, especially with public capital raising, where you can actually access financing, especially in these difficult times where there's a bit more of resilience that companies actually need to build if they're to grow and survive the macroeconomic environment. So they can access the equity market as well as the debt market for long-term debt securities. So those are some of the initiatives that we're trying to push forward. And we're also trying to strategize on how we can enhance or utilization of the automated trading system. I think this is something that we've mentioned before to say that we'd really like to come up with a mobile trading platform where we would want to engage more retail investors and the investing public so that they can also participate on the Malawi Stock Exchange in terms of buying shares as well as bonds. So those are just some of the initiatives that we're really looking forward to and we're also excited about.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. We'll be right back, and when we get back, we look at performance of the tobacco market this far. Welcome back. This is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And my name is William Kumwembe. Moving on with the program. Tobacco remains Malawi's top export crop, but both volume and value of the leaf has been dwindling in recent years. And chances are slim that the country could realize according to its target from the leaf this season. The target was 100 million kilograms, but as trends are indicating, the country is seen to be trading a little lower than it projected earlier on. This according to our journalist Justin Kweo, who visited the Limbe auction floors to find out the situation there.
The Limbe auction floors opened on 20th April 2022, where it started trading tobacco for this marketing season. Right now, I'm with the floor manager for the for Limbe auction floors, Mr. Forge Maseko, who will tell us more how the journey has been so far selling tobacco, trading tobacco here at Limbe auction floors. Welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe firstly, since April, since the market was opened, how has been trade at Limbe auction floors?
Since we opened the market, the trade has not been all that good because the inflow of tobacco was not as good as the past years. Our inflow has not been all that high. Even if you check our daily sales, we did not go over 3,000. We, as a floor here, we are supposed to be selling 5,000, but we go 2,000 below that. The highest we went this season was 2.7 thousand barrels.
What do you think is the reason for this sluggish sale?
The reason is because of the weather. There is no tobacco in the south. Farmers had a problem in transplanting. That's the reason.
Now, looking forward, what would be the outlook in terms of the market, Limbe market?
We did not sell on Friday. We had no sales on Friday. We had no sales on Monday. Today, we only sold 1,000 barrels of flu. So barley is almost gone. We hope by next week we will only remain with the flu and not barley.
So far, how much of the tobacco has been sold?
Yeah, so far, like here in Limbe, we have sold almost 16,000 barrels of flu. We have sold almost 46,000 of barley and 11,000 of dark fired. It's called the Southern dark fired. Yes.
How much have realized from that?
I may not tell you the figures, but I can tell you the average.
Yes.
Like on on barley, our average is $1.82, $1.82. On flu is $3.06. Those averages, and on SDF is $1.93. Yes.
You have said that we have faced this problem of weather that has led to maybe having low volumes of tobacco. I think on the national level as well, it's the same case, whereby we were expecting that the country was expecting maybe to sell about 100 million kilograms, but now it is said that maybe the country might not hit that far. Looking just at the Limbe auction floors, how do you look at the future of tobacco?
Yeah, if we will have good weather, good rains on onset as it has been before the past years, yeah, the future is there. Yes.
That's Mr. Forge Maseko, the floor manager for Limbe auction floors, telling us more about how the sale of tobacco has been for this year here at Limbe auction floors. The sale of tobacco countrywide hasn't been that good, just as Limbe has been, because the country was expected to sell about 100 million kilograms, but now officials from AHL Tobacco Sales told us that the country may not hit that figure. The reasons were the same as Mr. Maseko has said, that the weather which saw cyclones hitting the country and tropical storms has swept away some fields, and of course there were also other hitches apart from the weather. Cumulatively, according to figures from AHL Tobacco Sales nationwide, by the 6th of July this year, tobacco had realized $150.36 million. Tobacco remains Malawi's top export and foreign exchange earner. This year, it's been more important because the country is struggling to find foreign currency, and the country is struggling to import some of the things that the country imports, because it is mostly, Malawi is predominantly a consuming and importing nation.
Now, in other business news, the dream of Malawi having a one border post is slowly becoming a reality. This is according to spokesperson in the Ministry of Trade, Maison Sokera. He caught up with a journalist from Lilongwe, Daonga Sabola.
Well, the one-stop border post is actually an arrangement whereby countries that are trading amongst each other would facilitate cross-border trade in such a way that traders will only be stopping once at the border. The current arrangement is such that if one, for example, is maybe traveling to Zambia through the Nchinji border, he has to stop on the Malawi side, do the exit formalities there, and then he is also expected to stop on the Zambian side to do the entry formalities. With the one-stop border post arrangement, what will be happening now is that if you are traveling to, say, a country like Zambia, you only be stopping on the Zambian side. So we have got two buildings at the moment at Nchinji, for example, on the Malawi side and on the Zambian side. So if you are traveling from Malawi and going to Lusaka, you are going to only stop on the Zambian side in that particular building and do both the exit formalities as well as the entry formalities. So the arrangement is such that we are going to have border officials, Malawi border officials, as well as the Zambian border officials, both in the Zambian building as well as in the Malawian building, such that when one is in the Zambian building, for example, is going to be met with the Malawian authorities, for example, the Malawi Revenue Authority, the immigration, do the exit formalities, and then he's going to be handed over to the Zambian authorities to do the entry formalities. So it's a trade facilitation too. The government through the Ministry of Trade is actually implementing quite a number of trade facilitation initiatives, and the one-stop border post is one such arrangement whereby we want to streamline the procedures when it comes to, facilitating trade, particularly at the border, but also ensure that, our cross-border traders do not spend much time at the border, because in this case now they will just be stopping once, unlike the current arrangement where they stop twice and they spend quite a lot of time, and in so doing also incurring quite a number of costs, which makes our exports as well as our imports to be quite expensive and not competitive. One-stop border post arrangement is actually beneficial, one in such a way that we are going to experience reduction in time spent at the borders when it comes to our cross-border traders doing their trade with the trading partners, such that there will be coordination between the Malawian authorities as well as the authorities of our trading partners at the border. Two, because they will only be stopping once, they will spend less time and also incur less costs.
Well, with that interview, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time. It is a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.